Second call was from a venture capital firm interested in licensing our threat detection technology for commercial applications beyond government contracts. Third call was from Beverly. I let it go to voicemail. She called 8 more times over 3 days before leaving a message I saved for posterity. Kenneth, this is Beverly. We need to discuss consulting opportunities immediately. TechVault is prepared to offer substantial compensation packages for your expertise on an emergency basis. Please call me back as soon as possible. We made a mistake. The admission felt empty, too little too late, motivated by desperation rather than recognition. I didn't return the call. Beverly had chosen to value quarterly savings over 28 years of partnership. Now she could live with the consequences of that corporate calculation. 5 days later, Beverly was waiting beside my car in Data Shield's parking garage when I left work. She looked different, tired, stressed, none of the polished confidence from that boardroom morning when she'd laughed at my raise request. The power dynamic had shifted completely, and we both knew it. "This is inappropriate, Beverly," I said, maintaining distance while unlocking my car. "You've put 220 jobs at risk," she said urgently, desperation evident in her bloodshot eyes. She'd probably been working 18-hour days trying to contain the damage, calling emergency board meetings, scrambling to find solutions for problems she'd created by discarding the one person who understood their systems. TechVault is facing an existential crisis because of the intellectual property you stole. "I didn't take anything belonging to TechVault," I replied calmly. "I took my personal intellectual property that TechVault used without proper acquisition. Your legal team never did due diligence, and you never valued experienced personnel enough to care about details that mattered." Beverly stepped closer, invasion of personal space being her last desperate negotiating tactic. "Name your price, Kenneth. Whatever Data Shield is paying, we'll double it, triple it. We'll make you CTO, give you equity, whatever you want. We'll restructure the entire company around your leadership." I thought about those 28 years, sharing a bed with someone who'd ultimately see me as just another business expense to optimize. About the morning she'd dismissed me like obsolete equipment in front of colleagues who'd become her board of directors. About our children's dreams that her credit theft and salary stagnation had jeopardized. "You once told me everyone's replaceable, Beverly, even senior engineers with decades of experience. I'm just following your business philosophy." The following quarter, TechVault's stock fell 52%. They laid off 220 employees in 3 waves, targeting senior staff with the highest salaries first, the same cost-cutting strategy Beverly had used to justify denying my raise. The tech media described it as a catastrophic loss of institutional knowledge and mysterious deterioration of their award-winning security systems. Industry analysts wrote case studies about the dangers of undervaluing experienced talent in competitive markets. Harvard Business School, Beverly's alma mater, assigned the TechVault collapse as required reading in their Strategic Human Resources course, though they never mentioned that the CEO who'd caused the disaster was one of their own MBA graduates. Beverly resigned under pressure from the board after the stock hit a 4-year low. Her replacement was a 58-year-old former IBM executive who immediately began trying to poach senior engineers from competitors, offering salary premiums specifically for gray-haired professionals. Too late, the damage to TechVault's reputation in the engineering community was irreversible. Then came the inevitable lawsuit. TechVault sued me for intellectual property theft, corporate espionage, and breach of fiduciary duty. Their case collapsed spectacularly when my documentation proved conclusively that I'd developed the core algorithms as personal projects using my own equipment and time. The judge not only dismissed their claims, but awarded me legal fees, noting in his written decision that TechVault had failed to secure proper ownership of innovations they'd implemented and profited from for years. The legal precedent made headlines in technology law journals. But victory felt more complex than I'd expected. 3 months after the lawsuit ended, Wayne Mitchell, TechVault's former customer service director, visited my Data Shield office. He'd worked there 14 years before the layoffs, someone I'd shared coffee with and complained about management decisions alongside. 220 people lost jobs, Kenneth, he said, sitting across from my desk in my new corner office with its panoramic view of San Francisco Bay. People with families, mortgages, kids in college. Was your revenge worth destroying their livelihoods? The question hit harder than any lawsuit or corporate attack. I'd focused so intently on Beverly's arrogance and betrayal that I'd underestimated the collateral damage to innocent colleagues who'd never made decisions about my compensation or value. "You're right to be angry, Wayne," I said. "That's why DataShield has hired 89 former Tech Vault employees in the last 5 months, including your entire customer service team who wanted to join us." That conversation led to Experience Matters DataShield's formal initiative targeting displaced senior professionals throughout the industry. We partnered with 3 retraining organizations offering skills updates for engineers over 45. We created consulting opportunities for near-retirement professionals who wanted flexible arrangements rather than forced obsolescence. 8 months after leaving Tech Vault, I received the IEEE Lifetime Achievement Award for contributions to cybersecurity architecture. Standing at that podium, looking out at an audience full of gray-haired engineers and young developers working together, I thought about Beverly's comment regarding early retirement and golf courses. She'd been wrong about everything. We weren't expensive legacy employees clinging to outdated approaches. We were battle-tested professionals who understood the difference between moving fast and building systems that actually work long-term. When you combine decades of hard-won experience with the motivation to prove doubters wrong, you create something pretty unstoppable. A year later, I still think about that boardroom morning. Not with anger anymore, but something approaching gratitude. Beverly's laughter taught me the most valuable lesson of my career. Your loyalty means nothing if you don't value yourself first. The gray hair she saw as a liability turned out to be my competitive advantage. Last month, Tech Vault made headlines again, declaring bankruptcy, assets sold to private equity. The company we'd built together was gone, dismantled by leadership that confused energy with competence, disruption with innovation. If you're reading this and you're over 50, dealing with managers who think your experience is expensive rather than valuable, remember, your knowledge isn't just worth defending, it's worth fighting for. Document your work, understand your legal rights, never let anyone convince you that your best years are behind you. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to become invisible. Age isn't weakness in tech, it's wisdom waiting to be unleashed. When experience gets angry enough to demand respect, entire industries change. The algorithms are still running, my name is on the patents, and somewhere in Silicon Valley, a CEO learned not to laugh at senior engineers asking for their worth. Here's the real insight. Marriage and business partnerships fail the same way, when one person starts seeing the other as a cost center instead of a value creator. The moment your spouse or your company starts calculating what they can save by discarding you is the moment you need to start calculating what they'll lose when you're gone. "Grant," she said, her voice flat and tired, "I'm really exhausted. Can we do this another night?" "Of course," I said, trying to hide my disappointment. "No problem at all." We ate dinner with minimal conversation, Nicole barely touching her perfectly cooked filet, her eyes constantly drifting to her phone. Every few minutes it would buzz with a text or notification, and she would glance at it with an expression I couldn't quite read. When I asked about her day, she gave me one-word answers. When I told her about the progress on the Suns player's house, she nodded absently. Afterwards, she said she was going to shower and go to bed early. "Big day tomorrow," she mumbled, though she didn't specify what made it so important. I cleaned up the patio, put away the leftover wine, and joined her in bed around 10 o'clock. She was already under the covers, her back to me, the lights off. "Hey," I whispered, sliding in next to her and placing my hand on her hip. "You okay? You seem stressed." She stiffened at my touch like I had burned her. "I'm just tired, Grant. Can we just sleep?" "Of course, but we haven't been together in a while. I miss you, I miss us." She pulled away from my hand with a sharpness that startled me. "I said I'm tired." I lay there in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, feeling the distance between us like a physical barrier. The woman I had fallen in love with, married, built a life with, had just recoiled from my touch like I was a stranger. That was the last time I tried to initiate intimacy with my wife, and for the next 457 days, she never once reached out to me. At first I thought it was temporary, a rough patch, nothing more. All marriages go through them, right? I had friends in construction who complained about their wives being stressed, distracted, going through phases. I tried to give her space, tried to be patient, tried to focus on the other aspects of our relationship. We still talked about work, still attended social functions together, still went through the motions of married life. We just didn't touch. Ever. Weeks turned into months. I started sleeping in our guest room sometimes, telling myself it was because I didn't want to disturb her with my snoring. Years on noisy construction sites had left me with a deviated septum. But really it was because lying next to her, feeling her coldness, was too painful to bear. I suggested marriage counseling. She said she didn't have time with her workout schedule and all her client showings. I suggested a vacation, just the two of us, to Cabo or Hawaii, somewhere we could reconnect away from work stress. She said she couldn't take time off during what she claimed was her busiest selling season. I even suggested she talk to her doctor in case there was something physical going on, some hormonal issue that could be addressed. "Grant, I'm fine," she said with irritation. "You're making a big deal out of nothing. Some couples don't have intimacy that often. It's normal. You're being dramatic." Was I being dramatic? I started to doubt myself. Maybe this was just what marriage looked like after 7 years. Maybe my expectations were unrealistic. Maybe I was the problem. I threw myself into work with a vengeance, taking on bigger commercial projects, expanding Sullivan Construction into luxury custom homes. We broke ground on an 8,000 square foot mansion in Paradise Valley, started planning a 50-unit apartment complex in Tempe. If I couldn't find fulfillment in my marriage, at least I could find it in my career. By the spring of 2023, I had the most successful year in company history. We employed 31 people, had contracts worth over $3 million, and I was being courted for even bigger developments. The mayor of Scottsdale personally asked me to bid on a new civic center project. Arizona Business Magazine wanted to do a feature on Sullivan Construction's growth. It should have been the highlight of my career. It was a hollow victory. More money, more recognition, more respect in the Phoenix construction community, but no one at home to share it with. Nicole attended the few industry functions she couldn't avoid, stood beside me at charity galas, smiled for photos that made it into the local society pages. But she felt like a stranger wearing my wife's face. The gym obsession had intensified by then. Peak Performance had become Nicole's second home. She was there every morning at 6 a.m. for some specialized training session, back again in the evenings for yoga or Pilates or whatever the latest fitness trend was. She followed strict meal plans, carried protein shakes everywhere, talked constantly about her trainer Carlos and how he was helping her achieve her fitness goals. "Carlos says I need to increase my protein intake," she would say over dinner. "Carlos thinks I should try this new supplement routine. Carlos designed a whole new workout plan specifically for my body type." Carlos, Carlos, Carlos. I heard his name so much I started to feel like he was the third person in our marriage. When I suggested maybe I could join Peak Performance too, work out together like we used to at our old gym, Nicole quickly shut down the idea. "It's not really your type of place," she said. "It's very specialized. Carlos only works with certain clients who are serious about transformation. You wouldn't like it." I let it go, but something about her response bothered me. Nicole had never been the type to gatekeep activities before. When she got into wine tasting, she insisted I join her. When she wanted to learn salsa dancing, she dragged me to lessons. But Peak Performance was somehow off limits to her husband. And then on a Tuesday morning in March 2023, everything changed. I was at the job site of a luxury resort we were building in Fountain Hills when Nicole called my cell. This was unusual since we rarely talked during work hours anymore. Her voice sounded strange, shaky, in a way I hadn't heard since her father's heart attack 2 years earlier. "Grant, can you come home? I need to talk to you about something important." "What's wrong? Are you okay? Did something happen?" Can you please come home? Please." The drive from Fountain Hills to North Scottsdale normally takes 25 minutes. I made it in 18, my mind racing through possibilities. Car accident, health scare, family emergency, death in the family. I called her twice during the drive, but both calls went straight to voicemail. When I walked into our kitchen through the garage door, still wearing my work boots and dust-covered jeans, Nicole was sitting at our granite island. Her face was pale, drawn, with dark circles under her eyes like she hadn't slept in days. Her hands were trembling slightly, and there was something on the countertop in front of her, a small white plastic stick that I recognized immediately. A pregnancy test. "Grant," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I'm pregnant." I stood frozen in this doorway, my work boots tracking Arizona dust onto our pristine tile floor, my brain unable to process what I was hearing. Pregnant? But how? It was a stupid question. I knew how pregnancy worked, but the word how wasn't really asking about biology. It was asking about us, about the fact that we hadn't been intimate in over 15 months, about the mathematical impossibility of what she was telling me. Nicole's face crumpled, and she started to cry. Not the gentle tears of joy you might expect from a woman telling her husband she's pregnant, but deep, wrenching sobs that shook her entire body. "I need your help, Grant," she sobbed. "Please, I need you to help me." I walked slowly to the island and looked at the pregnancy test, at the 2 pink lines that confirmed what she had said. Clear as day, undeniable. Then I looked at my wife, this woman I had loved for 8 years, this woman I had built a life with, this woman who was now carrying a child that could not possibly be mine. "Whose is it?" I asked, my voice calm and flat, almost unrecognizable to my own ears. "Grant, please. Whose is it, Nicole?" She looked at me, her eyes red and swollen, mascara streaking down her cheeks in dark lines. For a moment she seemed like she might try to lie, might attempt some impossible explanation about timing or medical miracles. But something in my expression must have told her that lying would only make things worse. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." And in that moment, everything I thought I knew about my life, my marriage, my future, all of it shattered into a million pieces. The successful construction business, the beautiful house, the respect in the community, none of it mattered anymore. The woman I had trusted with everything had been living a lie. The next few hours are burned into my memory with crystal clarity. I remember sitting down at the kitchen island across from Nicole, the granite surface cold against my forearms. I remember her crying, apologizing, trying to reach for my hands across the counter. I remember pulling away from her touch the same way she had pulled away from mine for over a year. I remember asking questions, and I remember her answers, each one more devastating than the last. His name was Carlos Rivera. He was a personal trainer at Peak Performance, the gym where Nicole had been spending so much time. Someone she had been working with for over 18 months. The affair had started in the summer of 2021, about 6 months before she stopped being intimate with me. "It wasn't supposed to happen," she said, as if that made it better. "We were just working out together, and he made me feel young again, attractive, desired, things I hadn't felt in a long time. It just happened," I repeated slowly. "For 18 months. I know how it sounds, but I was confused, Grant. Our marriage I wasn't happy. I felt like we were just roommates going through the motions. Carlos made me feel alive again. When I was with him, I felt like myself for the first time in years." I stared at her in disbelief. "Roommates? Nicole, I planned romantic dinners. I suggested vacations to places you'd always wanted to visit. I begged you to go to counseling so we could work through whatever was wrong. How is that being roommates?" "That's not what I mean. It's more than that. You don't understand what it's like to feel invisible in your own marriage. Try me. Help me understand how planning romantic evenings and suggesting couples therapy makes you feel invisible." She took a shaky breath, seeming to gather courage for what she was about to say. "Carlos understood me in a way that he saw me as more than just a wife going through middle age. When I was with him, I felt like myself again. Young, attractive, exciting. When I was with you, I felt old, settled, like my best years were behind me, and this was all there was left." The words hit me like physical blows. Old, settled. These were the words my wife used to describe our marriage, the marriage I had thought was worth fighting for, the marriage I had been trying desperately to save for over a year while she was giving herself to another man. "So all those times you said you were tired," I said slowly, my voice getting quieter with each word. "All those nights you pushed me away, turned your back when I tried to touch you. You were saving yourself for him?" She didn't answer immediately. She didn't have to. The silence was answer enough. "Nicole, answer me. Were you rejecting me because you were sleeping with Carlos?" "It wasn't like that." "It was exactly like that. While I was lying awake wondering what I had done wrong, wondering why my wife didn't want me anymore, you were with him. Grant, please try to understand." I stood up from the island, my legs unsteady beneath me. I needed to get out of this room, out of this house, away from this woman who had become a complete stranger to me. The successful real estate agent, the fitness enthusiast, the woman who had seemed so perfect for me. It was all a lie. She had been living a double life for 18 months while I blamed myself for our problems. "Where are you going?" Nicole asked, panic creeping into her voice. "I don't know, but I need time to think about what you've just told me. Grant, please, we need to talk about this. We need to figure out what to do." I turned to look at her, really look at her, for what felt like the first time in months. "What to do? You're pregnant with another man's child, Nicole. You've been lying to me for 18 months. You've been sleeping with your trainer while rejecting me every single night. What exactly is there to figure out?" I don't know. That's why I need your help. I don't know what to do. Carlos doesn't know yet, and I'm scared about what happens next. "You want my help?" I laughed, a hollow, bitter sound that surprised even me. "You've been cheating on me for a year and a half. You've been making me feel like there was something wrong with me, like I wasn't man enough, attractive enough, interesting enough for my own wife. And now you want my help?" The question that had been building in my chest finally escaped. "Do you love him?" The question hung in the air between us like smoke. Nicole's face went through a progression of emotions: guilt, fear, defiance, and maybe even a flicker of something like hope. "I don't know," she finally said. "I think I might." I nodded slowly, absorbing this final blow. My wife loved another man. She was carrying his child, and she was asking me for help while admitting she might be in love with him. "I'm going to stay at a hotel tonight," I said, grabbing my keys from the counter. "I need time to think." "Grant, don't leave, not like this. We can work through this if we just—" "There's nothing to work through, Nicole. You made your choice 18 months ago. You've been making it every day since then. Now I need to make mine." I drove aimlessly through Phoenix for hours, my mind reeling from Nicole's confession. The city looked different somehow, like I was seeing it through new eyes. The mountains that had always seemed so solid and permanent now felt like a backdrop to a life that no longer made sense. I ended up at a bar in Old Town Scottsdale called the Beverly, a place where construction guys sometimes grabbed beers after work. The familiar atmosphere of working men unwinding felt like exactly what I needed. I sat at the bar and ordered a bourbon, then another, then another. The bartender, a grizzled guy in his 60s who looked like he'd seen everything life could throw at someone, must have recognized the look on my face because he kept the conversation minimal and the drinks coming. "Rough day?" he asked after my third bourbon. "You could say that. Want to talk about it?" I shook my head. "Just keep them coming." I stayed at that bar until closing time, drinking more than I had in years, trying to process the images that kept playing in my mind. Nicole and Carlos together, laughing, touching, sharing the intimacy she had denied me. Her face when she told me I made her feel old and settled. The pregnancy test. Those 2 pink lines that had destroyed everything I thought I knew about my life. I called a cab to take me to the Fairmont Scottsdale Princess, the resort where Nicole and I had celebrated our second wedding anniversary. The irony wasn't lost on me, but it was the first place that came to mind, and I needed somewhere to sleep that wasn't our house. I checked into a suite, went to my room, and collapsed on the bed without even taking off my boots. I didn't sleep. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of what had happened. How had I not seen it? How had I missed the signs that now seemed so obvious? The phone calls, the late nights at the gym, the emotional distance, the rejection of any physical intimacy. I had been so focused on trying to save our marriage that I hadn't considered the possibility that Nicole had already left it 18 months ago. The next morning, I called a lawyer. His name was Lance Miller, a partner at a family law firm that specialized in high-asset divorces. One of my contractors had recommended him after his own messy divorce, saying Lance was tough but fair, the kind of lawyer you wanted on your side when things got ugly. I made an appointment for that afternoon, then called Nicole. She answered on the first ring, her voice hopeful and desperate. "Grant, thank God, I've been so worried. Are you okay? Where are you?" "I'm fine. I'm at the Fairmont. I'll be home this afternoon, but we're not going to talk the way you think we are. I've hired a lawyer. I'm filing for divorce." Silence on the other end of the line, then in a voice I barely recognized. "You can't be serious." "I've never been more serious in my life." Grant, please, I know I made a mistake, but we can work through this. We've been together for 8 years. Doesn't that mean anything to you? It meant everything to me. That's why this hurts so much. That's why I can't get past it. So you're just going to give up? Just like that? Give up? I felt a flash of anger, the first real emotion I'd experienced since her confession. I didn't give up, Nicole. You did. You gave up on our marriage the moment you decided to sleep with Carlos. You gave up every night you rejected me while running to him. You gave up when you got pregnant with his child and then had the nerve to ask me for help. Don't you dare accuse me of giving up. I met with Lance Miller that afternoon. His office was in a high-rise in downtown Phoenix with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the valley. He was a distinguished man in his early 50s with graying hair and the kind of calm, reassuring presence that I imagined was useful in his line of work. "Mr. Sullivan," he said, shaking my hand, "thank you for coming in. I understand you're going through a difficult situation." I told him my story, the whole story, from the 457 days of rejection to Nicole's pregnancy confession to her admission that she might love Carlos. When I finished, Lance nodded thoughtfully. "First of all, I'm sorry you're going through this. Infidelity cases are always painful, but yours has some particularly challenging aspects given the pregnancy and the duration of the affair. What are my options? Arizona is a community property state, which means marital assets are divided equally unless there are compelling reasons to deviate from that standard. Your wife's infidelity could be relevant, especially if she spent marital funds on the affair or if you can prove the affair affected the marriage's breakdown. What about the pregnancy? That's where timing becomes crucial. If she gives birth while you're still married, you could be presumed to be the father under Arizona law, regardless of biological reality. We need to move quickly to establish paternity and get the divorce finalized before the child is born. How long does a divorce take in Arizona? If both parties agree to the terms, as little as 60 days after filing. If there are disputes over property division, support, or other issues, it can take much longer. I did the math quickly. Nicole was probably about 6 to 8 weeks pregnant based on her confession timeline. If we moved fast and she didn't fight the proceedings, we could be divorced before the baby was born. I want to proceed, I said, as quickly as possible. Understood. I'll need detailed financial information about your business, your assets, any evidence of marital funds used for the affair. The more documentation we have, the stronger your position will be. That evening, I went home to face Nicole and begin the painful process of dismantling our life together. She was waiting in our living room, looking smaller somehow, diminished. When I walked in carrying my overnight bag, she stood up hopefully. "Grant, I'm so glad you're home. I've been thinking about everything, and I know we can work through this if we just—" "There's nothing to work through, Nicole. I'm filing for divorce. Lance Miller is drawing up the papers. They'll be ready by the end of the week." Her face crumpled. "But I love you, Grant. I know that sounds crazy after everything I've done, but it's true. I love you, and I think if we could just go to counseling, if we could just—" I stared at her, trying to find something, anything that resembled the woman I had married 7 years ago, but all I saw was a stranger who had lied to me, rejected me, betrayed me in the most intimate way possible. "If you loved me," I said slowly, "you wouldn't have done what you did. You wouldn't have spent 18 months lying to my face while sleeping with another man. That's not love, Nicole. That's something else entirely, and I don't know what to call it, but it's not love." "What about the baby?" she asked quietly. "That's between you and Carlos. You need to tell him, and you need to figure out what you're going to do. But whatever you decide, I won't be part of it." "Carlos doesn't know yet. I'm scared to tell him." "Then I suggest you find some courage, because in about 7 months he's going to be a father whether he wants to be or not." Over the next several weeks, Nicole fought the divorce proceedings harder than I had expected. She hired Patricia Walsh, an aggressive attorney known for dragging out high-asset divorces, claiming she needed time to work things out and save our marriage. But Lance Miller was better. We moved fast, documenting her infidelity, establishing the timeline of her affair with Carlos, and pushing for an expedited divorce. The most satisfying moment in the entire process came when Carlos Rivera was served with paternity papers at peak performance. I wasn't there to see it, but one of my subcontractors who worked out at a nearby gym heard about it from a member who witnessed the whole thing. According to the story, the 38-year-old personal trainer went pale as a sheet when the process server handed him the legal documents. Turns out, the fitness instructor who had seemed so confident seducing a married woman wasn't quite as eager to be a father when it became a legal reality. He tried to deny the affair at first, then claimed Nicole had pursued him aggressively. When pressed about his intentions regarding the pregnancy, he became evasive, talking about his career goals and how he wasn't ready for that kind of responsibility. Within 2 weeks of being served, Carlos Rivera had quit his job at Peak Performance, broken his apartment lease, and vanished from Phoenix entirely. Just disappeared. Left his job, his clients, his whole life here, and fled to parts unknown. Word around the fitness community was that he had moved back to California, but nobody knew for sure. Nicole was devastated. Not only was she losing our marriage, but the man she thought she loved had abandoned her the moment things got real. She found herself alone, pregnant, and facing the reality that her affair partner had never been the man she thought he was. The trainer who had made her feel young and alive turned out to be a coward who ran at the first sign of actual responsibility. The pregnancy also became a public embarrassment for Nicole's real estate career. Phoenix is a smaller community than people realize, especially in the luxury markets where everyone knows everyone. Word spread quickly through her professional network about the divorce, the affair, the pregnancy. Several of her high-end clients dropped her, preferring not to be associated with the scandal. Her sales plummeted as referrals dried up, and her reputation suffered. The divorce was finalized on a Thursday morning in September 2023. We met at the courthouse with our lawyers, signed the papers, and just like that, 7 years of marriage were legally dissolved. Nicole was about 6 months pregnant by then, showing clearly, and she looked exhausted. The stress of the divorce, the pregnancy, and Carlos's abandonment had taken a visible toll. She tried to catch my eye as we signed the final documents, but I kept my focus on the papers, the pen in my hand, the business of ending what we had built together. When it was over, she stopped me outside the courthouse. "Grant, I just want you to know that I'm sorry for everything. I know that probably doesn't mean much to you now, but I need you to know that I understand what I threw away." I looked at her one final time. "You're right, Nicole. You did throw it away. But you know what? You did me a favor. You showed me what I was worth to you, and now I know my worth has nothing to do with how you treated me." The months that followed were a mix of liberation and hard work. I threw myself into expanding Sullivan Construction like never before. We took on the biggest project in company history, a luxury resort development in Sedona that would employ 45 people for 18 months. I also started seeing a therapist, Dr. Rebecca Martinez, who specialized in helping people recover from infidelity and rebuild their lives. "How do you feel about the divorce being final?" Dr. Martinez asked during one of our sessions. "Relieved," I said, surprised by my own honesty. I thought I'd feel sad or angry, but mostly I just feel free. Free from what? Free from wondering what I did wrong. Free from trying to save something that was already dead. Free from being married to someone who saw me as settled and boring instead of successful and stable. About 8 months after the divorce, I met Dana Mitchell at a construction industry conference in Las Vegas. She was an architectural engineer, 49 years old, running her own firm specializing in sustainable building design. She had been widowed 3 years earlier when her husband died in a car accident, and she was slowly rebuilding her life both personally and professionally. Dana was different from Nicole in every way that mattered. She was genuine, straightforward, professional. When she talked to you, she meant what she said. When we disagreed about a building technique or design element, we discussed it like equals and professionals. When she was interested in something, whether it was a project detail or a personal conversation, she showed it directly without games or manipulation. We started as business partners, collaborating on the Sedona Resort project where her sustainable design expertise complemented my construction knowledge perfectly. The professional relationship grew into friendship, then into something deeper. Dana understood the construction world, respected hard work and success, and appreciated the life I had built without being materialistic or calculating about it. A year later, I proposed to Dana at the same Sedona resort we had designed and built together. She said yes without hesitation, tears in her eyes as she looked at the ring and then at the beautiful building we had created as partners. We married in a small ceremony in early 2024, surrounded by close friends and family. At 57, I had found not just love but partnership in its truest form. Dana and I have combined our businesses, bought a beautiful home with mountain views, and built something together that feels unshakable. As for Nicole, I heard through mutual acquaintances that she gave birth to a son, Diego, in late 2023. She struggled as a single mother, her real estate career never fully recovering from the scandal. Carlos never returned to Phoenix, never met his son, and from what I understand, never paid a dime in child support. Last I heard, Nicole had moved to a smaller house in Tempe and was working for a corporate real estate firm instead of running her own luxury business. 6 months ago, I received a letter from her. In it, she apologized again and said she understood now what she had thrown away. She wrote that she was trying to be a good mother to Diego, but that every day she was reminded of the choices she had made and the life she had destroyed. I showed the letter to Dana. "Are you going to respond?" she asked. "No," I said. "There's nothing left to say. She made her choices and now she has to live with them. I'm not angry anymore, but I'm not interested in reopening that door either." Today, at 57, I'm happier than I've ever been. Sullivan Construction is thriving with $2.1 million in annual revenue. Dana and I have built something beautiful together, both personally and professionally, and I've learned that sometimes the worst betrayal can become the catalyst for your greatest triumph. Nicole's affair taught me that my worth was never dependent on how she treated me. Her rejection said everything about her character and nothing about mine. The construction boss who got betrayed by his cheating wife found something infinitely better than revenge. I found self-respect, true partnership, and the kind of love that builds rather than destroys. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time, and when they free you from a life that wasn't serving your highest good, thank them for the gift and build something better.